This episode of FilmRiot is brought to you by Domain.com. Today on FilmRiot, we got mail, we got sacks, we got hands zipping into the sack, pulling out questions, and I'm probably going to answer a few. Spoiler alert. Welcome to FilmRiot Mondays. We're going to answer questions that you asked. I could say something here and belabor the point, but I want to get right to the questions. Why sit here talking when we could jump right to a question, right? Just makes sense. Why waste your time? I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste my time. I'm going to read a question. I'm going to answer it. So let's do that. Let's get right to it. Let's stop talking about it and let's do it. Am I right? Why are we going to sit here and talk anymore, Bruno? Let's do it. We're going to do it. The question that comes first, the first question we got, are you considering to get the Canon 5D Mark III? I do, I kind of do want it, the Mark III. I'm thinking about selling my Mark II to upgrade to the Mark III because it does have some pretty good upgrades. Nothing that's really blowing my mind from what I've seen so far, but it seems like the moire and aliasing issue was all but gone. But however, the jello issue is still a big factor, and the processor is apparently a lot better, which will result in a much better image that's a lot less compressed, and the low light, holy crap, the low light is a lot better. So I am thinking about upgrading. It's nothing that's blowing my mind. It's not quite the revolution I was hoping it was, like the 5D Mark II was for DSLR videos, but it is still a fantastic upgrade. If you want to know more about that video, check out Philip Bloom's review on it. He did a video where he tested out the Mark III. He actually got his hands on one, the lucky bastard. So check that out. It's quite good. Do you plan on getting one of the Master Cinema Series rigs that Shane Hurlbut designed? So which one? I definitely do. Those things look fantastic. I used them in LA like you saw on the show, and I was totally blown away by them. So I'm definitely going to be getting my hands on one of those. I want the maxed out version, but we'll see. Definitely going to get one very soon. I'll be able to show you guys on the show, give a more thorough review on it. Ever thought about directing a comedy? If so, what type of comedy would make you crack up? Sweet. I would definitely direct comedy. I'm sure I will direct a comedy feature at some point or another, but most recently, the comedy that made me crack up the most was 21 Jump Street. I actually don't like comedies that often. I don't know why. Maybe because we do comedy mostly, but I don't really watch that many comedies. I'm not usually that interested, and when I do, I'm kind of disappointed by them. But 21 Jump Street was right up my alley. I thought that was hilarious. That whacked outness of it. Anchorman, Wedding Crashers, Role Models. Role Models being the least of those. But all those movies I thought were very funny, but pretty much the style that FilmRiot is, I assume is what my feature would end up being. Just very odd and a bit on the darker comedy side. I can't help myself, I don't know why. When it comes to stabilization, is there a certain trick or trade that makes it a lot easier? Or is it as much as a pain as it seems like? Stabilizing is actually a super easy thing. It's not that much of a pain in the butt. I mean, the easiest way to stabilize is to throw it on a tripod. You can also get a monopod, carry that around. Any kind of glide cam or steady cam situation. You can also use a DSLR shoulder mount like the lettuce one we were just talking about before. We actually built a DIY one even, which you could check out right here. Another thing, a big factor on how shaky, especially if you're using DSLR, your footage is or is not, is by using stabilization on your lens. If you use a lens that has no stabilization on it, and then you're going handheld, that's gonna be jittery, like a Will Smith song. That made sense, right? It did. So make sure you got a lens with image stabilization, just throw it on there. If it doesn't, you definitely need to lock that freaking thing down. You can get dollies, cine sliders, you know, camera sliders rather, like from Kessler. We actually do a show, Pimp Your Production. Check that out. We actually show all of that stabilization system. There's actually people who make a living out of being a Steadicam operator. That's their whole deal. They go to a film set, they sit around till it's time to operate their Steadicam, they operate Steadicam, and then they go back to the craft table and they make a crap load of money. So learn how to do smooth shots. Make that money, kids. Right guy, I love your show. You always talk about how important good writing is to a script and a film. What do you consider good writing? Do you like to read? And if so, what are some of your favorite reading materials? Was that good?
No. Can you read that again?
Was that understandable?
No.
Why?
Just read that again.
It was just too monotone?
Just read that again.
Okay, I'll read it one more time. Hey, Right Guy, love your show. You're always talking about how important good writing is to a script and a film. What do you consider good writing? Do you like to read? And if so, what are some of your fave Reading materials. I absolutely love reading. Good writing is pretty easy to spot when you're engrossed by a story, when you love the characters, when it hits the end and you get goosebumps. That was a fantastically told story, and it all stems from the writing. Of course, the acting and the directing is an enormous factor, but if that story is not there, no matter how good the directing and the acting is, the movie's gonna suck. So good writing is pretty easy to find. And reading is great. If you want to be a writer, you should be reading absolutely everything. Right now, I'm reading Horns by Joe Hill, which is really, really great. I like Joe Hill. I love his dad, Stephen King. Forget the dude's name, but the guy who wrote Amityville Horror, he was pretty good. I'm blanking on names. Dude who wrote Exorcist, very good. Dude who wrote Jaws, very good. Dude who wrote Psycho, very good. I don't really know authors' names. I just like the books. I don't really memorize the names. I'm sorry. But the perfect thing for you to read if you want to be a scriptwriter, however, is scripts. Download the scripts of your favorite movies and read the crap out of them. You'll be surprised how much that will help you as a writer. Dear Ryan, what are the 5 worst movies you've ever seen? That's so tough because there's so many terrible movies. Just to pick 5. I don't know. I'm just going to have to go off the top of my head. Twilight, obviously. Wicker Man. Wicker Man was freaking terrible. Season of the Witch. Alone in the Dark. Battlefield Earth, Geely, Catwoman. I didn't see that. Elektra. When the day comes, and I'm sure it will, when you're making feature films, having lunch with Steven Spielberg, I added Steven, will FilmRiot still be here, or will you see a day when it just falls to the side of the road? I receive it. I like it. I'm gonna take that to heart and hope that what you just said comes true. If I had lunch with Steven Spielberg, that would be the most, I would just pet his beard the whole time and weep uncontrollably. There's no plans for me to ever stop FilmRiot. I've talked about this on the show before, but hopefully my career is leading towards the place where I'll actually making feature films that will go into theatrical release. But when that happens, FilmRiot will follow me in my filmmaking endeavors, and when we're not making films, it'll go back to, well, what FilmRiot basically is now. When we go into making films, it'll be hopefully the most in-depth behind-the-scenes look into making a film that has ever been done before. Especially when I do my first feature, it'll follow me and all the hardships and the pitfalls that I go through when making my first feature. There's nothing out there like that now, and I really wish there were, so I could watch somebody making their first feature so I could learn from it and make me making my first feature a little bit easier. But it's going to hopefully get to a place where FilmRiot will become a free online film course legitimately, where you'll just be able to learn more than you've ever learned about the filmmaking process. That's the hope anyway, but FilmRiot will never end. It will never die. Hopefully. There's no plan for it anyway. So if you're setting up a website to start a business or do a blog, domain.com really is the best place for you to go for your next great idea. You've heard it from me a million times before. Domain.com makes it easy to set up your domain and website with no hassle. And this is absolutely true. I actually just bought a new domain, and I've used tons of different domain services before, and domain.com by far was the easiest. Some of them can be so friggin' cluttered. Domain.com's like a hot knife through butter, I think is the best way, or a hot knife through a fat leg. It is a little deranged, but also true. Whether you want to blog, create a website, showcase your portfolio, make money, set up a new email address at your personal domain, there's so much you can do. And the guys at domain.com love them some FilmRiot, and they love our FilmRiot viewers, so they want to give you 15% off your domain name and web hosting when you use the coupon code FilmRiot when you're checking out at domain.com. Also, if you want a sweet domain.com t-shirt, you can tweet to them at domain.com's Twitter and tell them that you love you some FilmRiot, and you might get lucky with domain.com, and they'll send you a t-shirt. Don't forget to use the coupon code FilmRiot, and when you think domain names, think domain.com. Logo. You know, one thing people have been asking me since the last Mailsack episode?
What?
Is what you said to me where you were gonna punch me.
Really?
People have been really wanting to know what you said.
Should I just say it?
Yeah, just tell them.
Well, I told him that I want to punch you in the
It's exactly what he said. See you next week.